Let's talk about the 3 steps for conflict resolution in your marriage. Now, again, this is a Marriage Builder series, which means my wife and I will help you understand this. Hopefully, you're doing this with a couple small group or with your marriage mentoring couple. I'm assuming if you're watching this, then you've got a conflict to resolve, which is great. Every marriage has that. So we're going to talk through these talking points. Go ahead and use that workbook, fill that out, and talk through this in that group setting. But here's the first thing you need to understand. It's that healthy couples will have conflict. You know, a lot of people say, hey, wait, isn't the goal in a marriage to not have any conflict? You know, that marital bliss is there's never any fights, there's never any disagreement. We're just so on the same page. And you just need to know right off the bat, get your expectations right. That is not what a healthy marriage looks like. Healthy couples fight right. It's not that healthy couples never fight, because there's always going to be differences. You're always going to have 2 different people who have 2 different opinions. And the key here is learning how to resolve conflict in a healthy way instead of not resolving conflict or resolving it or, doing it in a really unhealthy way, fighting in a wrong way. So understand that if you love your spouse, you should expect to have conflict. You should expect to fight for your marriage. And so healthy conflict is based on a mutual commitment to the marriage. See, we're going to get to the practical steps in just a minute, which have to do with communication skills. But before we even get to that, you need to understand that it's the basis for all of this. The whole reason you can have a healthy fight, a good conflict, and resolve conflict is because husband and wife say, I know at the end of this, conflict, at the end of this fight, I know at the end of the day, we're still committed to one another. We still care about, the reason we're doing this is we care about this. Principle number 1 is that love is a choice, not just a feeling. You're choosing, you've made a covenant, you've made a promise to one another. You're going to fight for this marriage, and that means engaging in this conflict so that you can get on the same page, you can communicate with one another, and you can understand one another better, and you can move forward in your marriage. So this whole thing is really based on commitment, mutual commitment, husband and wife. Whatever troubles you're having right now, if you come to this video with troubles right now, conflict to resolve, it really starts with looking at each other and saying, are we committed to this thing? Speak that to each other. Let each other hear that you're committed to it. That'll be the basis for what happens next. And my wife will talk us through some of those practical things.
Healthy conflict happens through good communication skills. So once you have your commitment established, which is really important, that's the bedrock, that foundation. But then it's about how you start talking to one another. And there's some really practical, important skills. We have a worksheet available for you that we're going to walk you through here in a few minutes that really incorporate good communication skills along with the 3 steps we're going to provide you that hopefully are going to help outline for you how is it that we are supposed to fight right. Let's get to the 3 steps for conflict resolution. Now pull out that worksheet. It's in your lesson resources for today. And make sure that you look at that and walk through that with me even. That might be helpful. Because here's the thing. The first step is discover what the issues are. So the good communication skill you need to use in that first step is all about using I feel because statements. Maybe you've heard of those before in your communications classes in college or something. But the I feel because statements are really important in the discovering what the problems are, because it's the opportunity for you to say, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling angry because, and whatever the reason is. It's putting it out there very clearly. Now the difference is, I'm not saying you're a jerk because you didn't do this, that, or the other thing. That kind of response makes our spouse feel like they're on the defensive. So those I feel because statements are really important for you to have that opportunity to put out for your spouse why you're upset, how you feel about it, what are the reasons for that. So you can be clear and concise and discover the problems or the missed expectations, whatever they are, together in that first step. And then you can go to step 2, which is all about talking about what you discovered in the first step. This is where you have questions there. They're going to help you through that. But this is where you and your spouse start talking about it. Now, here's the key. It's one thing to be able to express your own thoughts and feelings. But your spouse needs to be doing something when you're talking, and that's the important skill of active listening. See, here's the thing. I'm not having a conversation with someone if I'm talking and then the other person's trying to talk back at me at the same time. A conversation's when one person's talking and the other one's listening. So when you move into that second step, it's really important for the spouse who is not expressing themselves is listening, active listening. Say things like, so what I hear you saying is, ... Make sure that you're really showing that you heard what your spouse said, that as they're expressing themselves, as they're saying their reasons of what they've discovered the problem to be, that the other spouse is listening, actively listening, and able to put it back in their own words so they feel like both of you get on the same page. And then, of course, as you see on your worksheet, we move to step 3, which is all about moving forward, living it out, finding solutions. What did we learn through that step 1? How did we talk it through and really understand each other? What was missed? Where did we fail? Now you start moving into, so what are we doing next time to avoid this from happening again? It's all about living it out, finding the practical next steps, the solutions to the problem. So you don't find yourself having to come back to this conversation again and have another fight about it. You move forward, you learn, you mature through that process. And it's a win-win then, and conflict happened well. So go ahead, use the workbook and talk about it with your marriage mentor or your small group.